the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Hey, check out my new tag team, baby, Monty and the Pharaoh.
Hey, Jimmy, don't forget to tell them about Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast.
Well, you know what, I would, but you already did it.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
The Monty and Pharaoh Show.
Monty and Pharaoh, bro.
Monty and the Pharaoh. The Monty and the Pharaoh.
You've got the future Hall of Famers, that Rucker, Marty Jannetty, and MJ in the house, and I'm sitting here with two more future Hall of Famers, Monty and the Pharaoh. We're doing that stuff and we gonna rock it.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
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 And Monty and the Pharaoh. Oh, is it Monty and the Pharaoh?
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Hey, cut music. When you want the best in professional wrestling, Long Island, there's only one place you're going to get it, right here.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Now, that's not just the coolest, and that's not just the best. That, my friends, is just incredible.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Duh.
Hey! Nikita Koloff, the Russian Nightmare! And you're watching the #1 show on Long Island with Monty and the Pharaoh.
There was a match between Kurt and myself.
So fill us in with that Tom Selleck smile over there. Look at that mustache! Oh my God!
I'll just say it went well for me.
It went well for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Magnum Mangle. Very good.
Well, no, I didn't
Very
say
good.
the mangle. Something like that.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh, seen only here out of Indie Music TV from Ronkonkoma, Long Island. Our special guest, our honor, the great Dan Severn. Dan, thank you for coming in. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. The sport of wrestling, I've been involved in now 6 decades. I started back in junior high in 1969, so I've got the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s,
Wow.
2000,
Wow.
2010 and above. Well, now we're into the 2020s and above. It's kind of look at, is Dan Severn done? Oh, wait to be seen. I don't think I'm done yet because although I may be 62 going on 63, I don't look it, I don't act it, I don't move it.
You're famous from Michigan, and then also Michael Moore's from Michigan, too. What are your thoughts on Michael Moore?
Michael Moore?
Well, again, it makes it up. I mean, I hear things about Michael Moore and a few other people, stuff like that. I mean, I'll just say he's a rather interesting cat. I guess. Once again,
Would you like to beat it?
Oh my God!
Or publicly flogged. I publicly flogged again.
Fighting, wrestling, acting. You've done all these things. Which one do you like the most?
Well, again, the thing that's been my theme throughout my entire life has been my amateur wrestling career. So I mean, it is the vehicle that has opened up all these other doors. Because what I always tell people, because they tend to get it wrong, my first profession was professional wrestling.
How hard was it going from, the amateur wrestling into something like cage fighting?
Well, I mean, it was the hardest part. The cage fight, not. Professional wrestling, a complete 360. Professional wrestling, you're looking for a certain reaction from that crowd. What is your persona? If you are that heel, I want that negative reception from the crowd. If I'm that baby face, I'm looking for that positive reinforcement, the cheers, the yays, and the whole nine yards like that. The referee is working with all of you.
Sure.
Because they don't want to see this. So they're part of the show. So I had to rewire my brain an entire 360. But what I tell people that my first profession was, I was a professional wrestler first. And the one element that I took away from professional wrestling that served me well in the cage fight world is this psychology.
Psychology.
To know how, when I go to this location, I know how to get that audience to do exactly what I want them to do. To get them to like me or to hate me. And to get them to hate or hate the match. To where now, as they are booing and jeering the match, how is that affecting? It's not going to affect me. How is it going to affect my opponent? And all of a sudden, they're like, come on. I'm thinking, dude, I can come to you. You can come to me. I have nothing but all night, because these were unlimited time matches back then. It was just until you're either unconscious or you're tapping out or your corner was thrown in the towel or something like that. So I always say that I think everybody should take at least one semester in professional wrestling training to understand the psychology aspect, but then also understand the marketing aspect, because you have to be a marketing machine in that industry. So there are, although I always tell people that it is probably the very worst profession I have ever been involved with, but I have met some wonderful individuals. Now the turds outweigh the wonderful individual. Well, you'll find
Was that a tag team? The Turds?
Dan Severn doesn't like to curse.
Gotcha.
So if you get labeled a turd by Dan Severn, that's almost like the big F-bomb there or something like that being thrown on you there. Okay.
Interesting.
So, but it's
Okay.
I like to think of myself as a more sophisticated beast here right
But
now.
dastardly.
My partner was
dastardly.
actually calling you the Bruno Sammartino of the MMA world.
I believe he is.
Now,
I believe
you bring
he
that
is.
up. There's if I can hold you for a moment, I like to tell a story. Out of the blue, Bruno Sammartino calls me up on my cell phone. Now, I had never met the man at this point. And this is early in my career when I'm just running with the NWA belt. And I'm doing stuff with the Ultimate Fighting Championship and stuff like that. I don't even think I was with the WWF yet.
Okay.
Again, now known as WWE. And he calls me up out of the blue. He goes, young man, I hear all the good things that you're doing. Keep up the good work. I like what you do with the NWA belt. Bring back the prestige and stuff like that. I'm thinking, so when I finally did go to a convention, again, I don't know where it was at. I heard that he was going to be there. I went out of my way to go in there to meet him and to shake his hand and say thank you. Because, like, did he have to do that? He didn't have to do that. So that was great. Basic element of professional wrestling. There are times it's kind of going, this guy can't carry my jockstrap, and now you want me to put somebody over.
Yeah.
And I always tell people that in the magical world of professional wrestling, anything is possible. You could have a midget out there with a feather. That's going to beat the giant because he runs up to the giant and he starts to tickle him. And the giant starts to, and at the point that the giant falls on his back,
Grabs the
and then
tights.
he grabs the leg. 1, 2, 3. Again,
Fast count.
anything can be done in the magical world of professional wrestling. And I leave it at that. And I always tell people, I go, let's keep these two industries separate. Dan Severn also has been involved in movies, known as being an actor. Also capable of doing stunts and things of that nature. Most professional wrestlers don't even realize when they're doing their falls and things of that nature, they are doing the most basic elements of martial arts break falls to hit and land and on as much body mass as possible to dissipate impact. If you simply go down on a point of an elbow or something, you could take out your shoulder, you could lots of injuries. So the more that you can lay flat and try to also protect the back of your head.
How smooth was your conversion, learning how to take bumps after amateur wrestling? You're not taking those kind
all
of
my
bumps.
stuff was involved in the combat arts first. So I learned from the combat arts first how to protect myself. So now going into professional wrestling, it was easy to convert over.
Easy.
The hard part was I'm so concerned about your safety that I'm like a pipe wrench. More than one type, they're like, dude, lighten up, loosen up. I go, but I'm afraid with the cocoa butter, whatever you got on, or the whatever that's going to make your muscles shine,
Baby oil.
I may lose my grip on you.
Yeah.
And literally, sometimes I have to pipe wrench down on them because if I do something wrong, it's not me who's going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt. And ironically, in all the things I've done, between professional wrestling and all the different types of amateur wrestling I've done, the safest thing I've done is cage fight. I've been hurt far worse in my professional wrestling industry. Not at my hands, but whoever I was in the ring with, because they did not know how to execute something properly. They went to their training, and then they ceased. So,
Dan, you think you were a better cage fighter or a better amateur wrestler?
oh, amateur wrestler by far.
So,
Well, again, I'm just because I so much more time vested. I mean, I started my cage fighting career at 37. Who starts a cage fighting career
Yeah.
at 37 and then goes for 20 years beyond that?
Yeah.
Dan Severn does.
I always tell people, find somebody. Keep going on, because I want to. It's not that I'm trying to put myself over. I always tell people, I'm not here to be braggadocious. I'm here to grab you by the scruff of the neck, and I'm going to shove your face into a cow pie of reality. Because is there anyone equal to me? No, there's not. And you just keep the questions coming.
Well,
I'll answer them.
I would think winning 13 amateur championships would.
No,
make me think way.
that's such an old moniker.
There's
that
more.
Oh yeah,
isn't
no.
there?
There's
How many are there? How many championships amateur wise? Let's get it
easily 100 plus. Now again, when I say 100 plus, there's 100 plus state, national, and or international titles and or records to my credit. Now I'm being pretty boastful saying this on the air, but try me.
Yeah.
I got you.
Speaking of strange and eccentric, at least as far as his character goes, we've had the great Al Snow in studio. Thoughts on the man who trained you?
Al is great.
He's very intelligent.
Al
man.
he's very hilarious, but at the same token, very knowledgeable. And still, yet someone that the WWF/WWE did not realize the talent that he had.
He was great.
Yeah, no, I tell people that he could put on a match with a broomstick, and actually did do a match with a broomstick one time, and put the broomstick over. It's like the WWF did not know what to do with me. At the same token, I was a Brock Lesnar 20-some years before Brock Lesnar ever came along.
Yep.
You know, but it's kind of like you didn't. I'm not going to be the spokesperson, but you pair me up with a Jim Cornette. Let him be the spokesperson.
Yeah.
But that's what I said. That was just a missed opportunity, and you know that's. You can't go back in time. You just continued to move forward.
Was it because of the potential skits or would get angles? Was it because they just were way too outside the box for Dan Severn? Like, I'm not doing this.
Well, no, not really. It's just, again, part of the problem was my naiveness of the industry. I didn't really know how much input I was able to say about it. I kind of figured, they've been doing this for how many decades? I kept thinking that this creative team and this organization that has been around since Vince McMahon, senior to junior to now going into the third generation right now, I would have thought that they would have understood a little bit more. I was kind of like the outsider looking at it, and I looked at this as really as purely an opportunity here first. I mean, I looked at amateur wrestling was my vehicle to get my college paid for. Because that's what I first looked at that. Well, now I'm in college, I'm doing great stuff like this. You know, now I've got professional wrestling companies that are starting to look at me and think they should look, but I can't go there because if I turn pro now, I lose my amateur status and representing the United States, try and make an Olympic team, world team, things of that nature. That was what I wanted to do first. But then, as of 1992, when the new ruling came down from the United States Olympic Committee that allowed athletes to be both amateur and professional simultaneously, that's when you had like the dream team and the basketball team, stuff like that out there.
Right.
That changed, so I could now be a professional wrestler, and I could be a cage. I could be a cage fighter, but I could still represent the United States on an amateur level. So it's not a shoot. I would tell people, they say, let's do a shoot interview. I go, does that mean by being honest?
That's it. Amateur wrestler.
As an amateur,
Shoot interview. One-on-one with Lesnar, one-on-one with Kurt Angle. Could you beat him?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, Brock is a lot younger. You got to look at my age and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So, there was a match between Kurt and myself.
So
Well, fill us in with that Tom Selleck smile over there. Look at that mustache! Oh, my God.
I'll just say it went well for me.
It went well for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Magnum Mangle. Very
Well,
good.
no, I
Very
didn't
good.
bang. He was young in his career, and I was much older in my career.
Okay.
So again, that's what I just say that it's like the first time that I was being interviewed, and somebody said, "Well, how was it fighting Forrest Griffin?" I go, "Who?" And like, well, Forrest Griffin. I go, I know it. I go, I fought him. Now when I made that comment, now they're thinking Dan Severn took one too many shots ahead. And I go, well, no. I said no.
Had so many fights.
I just tell people I've had 100 plus fights.
Yeah.
The victories are nothing but a blur. The losses, I could tell you everybody I lost to, and I can tell you how I lost because I either let myself down or I let my my guard down here at this point or that point. So I know about the losses. The victories, they just blend. I pride myself in the fact that I'm lifetime chemical free. Now, I tell people, go find another professional wrestler alone that can make that claim. And I tell people, go and find someone that said that I bought anything from them or that they did this for me or did that for me. You're not going to find it because I didn't do it. Just like I made the comment earlier, I've only did 2 training camps in a 20-year cage fighting career. Find some, put it out. I might have did a run on my own. I did ongoing classes at my training facility, but was I training? Like you look at guys on the current, they're going into training camps for 4, 5, 6 months out. I did 2. Once for 32 days for UFC number 5, and once for 35 days for the Ultimate. I set 2 different records. In UFC 5, shortest tournament victory I ever won. Took care of 3 men in the shortest time they had ever seen. And then in the Ultimate, just over 1 hour between my 3 people. And this is in up in Colorado Springs in mile high elevation. So I said, I always tell people, just think if I would have actually applied myself, might have made something of myself, But I'm happy with where I'm at.
Are you surprised to see Shamrock still going? He's actually still going now in Impact.
Is he really?
He really is.
Oh, okay.
No, he really is. I'm surprised.
I've seen a couple of the matches that I don't think I'd be really all that proud of. But that's again, I
You're doing great, Ken.
But at the same token, I will always razzle him a little bit because people are like, do you really have heat with him? I go,
do you?
Do I really have heat with him? No. But I will.
Okay.
I will keep him in check.
Oh.
Because do I want people to put him in comparison with me? Hell no.
Are you guys crazy enough to possibly get back in the cage one more time? Any shot?
Maybe there was supposed to have been a 3.
Yeah.
But I'm not talking about with Vince McMahon. No, there was really supposed to have been a number 3, and actually it was all set up, and the contracts were signed. And yet
somebody got a boo-boo.
And somebody
got a boo-boo.
Somebody 10 days out. 10 days out.
Oh, come on.
Comes up with the boo-boo. But
wasn't that when they tried to wheel Tank Abbott in? Okay, you go, you fight.
Yeah,
I can't do it either.
Well, you know the story better than I do right now.
I'm aware of that one. Yeah,
but the thing is, in that same boo-boo, before they even came to Tank Abbott, they actually came up with a couple. And one of the guys that they came up with, I had to say, I go, you do realize this guy is deceased. What? I go to be one of the easiest matches I ever walked into. Okay, he'll be a no-show.
We like the bag.
Oh, okay,
I got Valentine in Morocco and
as you get older, you realize what Bob Backlund meant for the industry. He again, I used to go to the Garden every month. I used to sit front row, and
it's amazing.
But again, he was one of these guys that I can relate to because he was such a technical machine out there. He just he knew how to wrestle and things of that nature. And whereas a lot of guys. They don't.
And he was over for all the right reasons.
And I got to tell you, we used to hate his interviews, but as you get older, you appreciate his interviews. They were incredible.
Especially when we would get mad. Bob Backlund mad? Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the funny part is because he'll put on that suit and that tie, and then he'll start raving and screaming like a madman or something like this. It's like such a contrast. But when you get to really know, he's very down to earth, very likable individual.
Absolutely.
I'm on my Prozac today. We're okay. We're okay there, guys.
Great. Two guys with Prozac bouncing questions and answers. Wonderful. Holy imbalance, Batman.
But we're only good for about another, because my Prozac will be wearing off.
It's running out. Oh no! Dan, was there ever a fight where you were actually, beforehand? I understand maybe you get butterflies. I would assume that. Was there actually ever an opponent that made you go beforehand? Man, I better be careful tonight. Anybody?
Oh well, I mean, as you were asked this question, a couple of thoughts were already coming to my mind of questions I've been asked previously, and I guess the wording was there anyone that I went out there with ill contempt for? And yes.
How about weary of their capabilities of potentially injuring you?
Well, no, but there was there too. Like for example, Tank Abbott.
Tank Abbott.
For one of the first times I ever saw Tank Abbott, I saw him knock out like a 400-pound sumo with one punch. But the part was okay. That was like okay, he clocked him. But the part that really that got me was as his opponent laid there, his body just stiffened on up in his toes. I mean, what is known as involuntary.
Yeah.
I call it the chicken flop. You know, you can't. It's involuntary, but your body all stiffens on up, and you start going to shaking that motion. While the guy laid there, helpless, defenseless. Take Abbott went down and struck him again.
Hit him again.
In the moment that he struck him, I'm like, oh, I think my mind, I'm like, you son of a... I can't believe what you just did. I go, how can you call yourself a martial artist or any type of person like that? I'm thinking, one day if I should ever get you inside this cage, evil will have begotten a greater evil, because I could turn on things that most people only wish they could turn on. What I did to take on that night, I mean, I did one of the most humiliating things there. Is like I took him down and I punished and beat on him for almost 20 minutes. And the only reason that I tell people that I had already been a professional wrestler, so I know how to put on a show. So I already told my corner men, keep me a track of time. I go, when we get down to the 3-minute mark, scream out 3 minutes, but make sure you scream out and I acknowledge you somehow that I heard you. Because at the 3-minute mark, I will allow him to get up off the ground, and I'm going to then because my whole goal was I wanted to pull off a belly to back suplex in the final seconds of the match, because not that it would have really hurt Tank. Well, maybe I doubt it. I think he would have just bounced a couple times. He got it back up swinging because that's his MO.
Right.
But I was already a competitor and an entertainer simultaneous. But then also because I understood the psychology. And what would that have done for Dan Severn's stock to pull off a German suplex in the final seconds of the credenza of the cymbals? Yes, that's what I was looking for. Wow. But he held on. He literally, you'll see him holding on the cage as I tried to grab him and try to.
Couldn't you like whispered in his ear and been like, "Hey, look, I'm trying this German suplex."
I tried to give him the office. He just wasn't buying it. No, at that point, no, wasn't buying it. Let me throw a drop kick, will you?
Who's your best friend in either MMA or pro wrestling?
I mean, it's.
Do you still have any friends?
I've met. No. oh
my God! That's the last round.
No. There's a lot of people that as they've got to know me, they like me. Because I always tell people I'm not going to bullshit you. If you want a straight answer, are you ready for the straight answer to come back?
You were given Jim Cornette, so you were given a mouthpiece. Did you ever want to speak for yourself?
Well, and again, in the beginning, I really had no say-so in a lot of this. I was actually glad, like earlier the question, Jim allowed the NWA belt to be bestowed upon me through a Smoky Mountain. So I'm very appreciative for them. And I really did not know that much about Jim Cornette at that point. I started paying more and more attention because I'm getting more and more involved in this industry, so I'm trying to educate myself along the way. And then, being paired with him. And he would come out frustrated from the different meetings that he would have with the other people that are injected all their different ideas. He would come out because I'd be in the cafeteria because you had to show up to these Monday night shows so early in the day. I kept wondering, why do I have to be here basically by noon? And a show doesn't start until like 9 o'clock that night. But then I found out why later, because of how many derelicts, ne'er-do-wells, misfits, nitwits, nincompoops that are employed by this company. Again, I'm not talking about all the other people that are setting up the lighting, talking stuff like this. The talent that shows, and again, I'm not saying about everybody, but a vast majority of them. And I wonder, where else in the world can you get paid what you're being paid to simply act out? Again, I guess I don't look like I'm breaking any kind of kayfabe. Kayfabe was broke when Vince McMahon himself exposed the industry because he no longer wanted to be regulated by the athletic commissions. I travel usually with two of the most recognizable belts in the world. I always have the NWA title belt there with me, alongside it with the UFC title belt. And when people come up to the table and stuff like that, they regale, and they're always putting over the UFC belt, stuff like that. And they see the NWA belt, and they go, wrestling, like, what exactly kind of, what is NWA wrestling? And they're like, oh, well, just like what you see on television, stuff like that, Vince McMahon organization. And they're like, they always say the same thing, well, the fake stuff. I go, you understand what this other belt is over here? And I go, oh, you say, oh, love that. UFC, that's the real deal. I go, how is it that I've been hurt far worse in this industry than I have been in the UFC industry? They look like puzzle, like
Right.
I don't know again, but I share the story there because I'm out there with people that don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And even to be on a WWF show and to be, tombstoned for real, that happened to be live on the show, to the point that even Stone Cold Steve Austin, like a little over a year ago, called me out of the blue. Again, I've never received a phone call from a Stone Cold Steve Austin, again, on my cell phone. But out of the blue, he's like, brother, he goes, this is Steve, and he goes, I know we never really talked much when you, back in the days and stuff like that. He goes, but recently someone shared a video with me. He goes, and I have to call you on that. And he goes, are you okay?
Got dropped on your head, huh?
Yeah, and he goes, because it was the same person that basically ended his career of the surgeries that he had to have.
So we're talking about Owen Hart?
Yes.
Yeah.
So were you saying Owen, was he unsafe?
Well, I mean, when
On that particular move.
on that particular move, yes. Again, that's probably the best way of saying it right there. I mean, there was,
There you go.
yeah, you're not supposed. What is the whole premise of professional wrestling? You want things to look as real as possible, but knowing that how many times a year are you going to be doing professional wrestling matches? Now, I would have loved to have been involved in professional wrestling back in the territorial days, prior to the internet era ever coming about. The internet era, in a lot of ways, has exposed. They pulled the curtain back.
Yeah.
So that when you could have worked with the same guy 100 different times in the same year,
Sure.
all over the country, all over the
Sure.
world,
Sure.
to where it's like you and I are getting in the ring there tonight, the Pharaoh, and we're just simply knowing that we know the routine.
We do?
Yes,
You
we do.
beat me to a pulp and we ring the bell.
We know exactly when I go for the poke in the eyes. You put the block up. You know. Okay.
A couple of these?
Yeah. So again, boom. I mean, Vince carried on a legacy for his father. He did not start the company. What he did for the territories, I think that there would. If he could have worked somehow to keep that going, maybe did a different approach, because his approach was about world domination.
Show.
Okay, that's all it was. Just for I think if he would have looked at a way to where if he could have kept some sort of that territorial theme and worked with them a little bit more, I think he would be in a different place than where he's at.
Interesting.
Being happier and even more successful.
Interesting.